You're listening to episode 22 of the Deliberately Transformed Woman podcast with Makaela Moore. Welcome to the Deliberately Transformed Woman podcast. You're about to discover a whole new way of viewing yourself and the world. I'm Makaela Moore, your host, intuitive leadership coach, former HR professional, mother, wife, and self-confessed nerd who loves brain science, Boston Terriers, rustic homewares, and acreage life. My mission is to help women in business to shift their identity and become fearless leaders in life and work so they can stop walking on eggshells and finally be the confident leaders they aspire to be. Unlike other coaches who focus on traditional goal setting and leadership strategies, I use my signature framework, which combines brain science, subconscious reprogramming, and intuition with leadership principles to help women to transform their life from the inside out. So if you're the type of person who wants to let go of the things holding you back and bust through fear, procrastination, and perfectionism and step into a life that is fulfilling, courageous, and intentional, then this podcast is for you. I'm so happy you're here. Hey, and thanks for joining me. After relaunching the podcast last week, I have had so many messages from my beautiful listeners welcoming me back to the airwaves, and it feels like the big warm hug that we all need right now. So thank you so much to those who have reached out to me. It's been so beautiful. As I mentioned last week, there are so many topics that I want to talk about with you. So choosing which topic to begin with for today's episode was kind of a tough one. But I think the overarching theme of everything that I stand for is taking control of your own life. So I felt like a pretty good place to start with, particularly in light of us living through the most out of control year yet. Sometimes it seems like our life is out of control, and this year is like case in point. We all had plans, trips, holidays, weddings, and work and school arrangements that were changed or cancelled, and many people pivoted their businesses, and some haven't seen their loved ones in months. We've been told what to do, what not to do by the powers that be, basically every single day since early March, which in all honesty, that feels like a lifetime ago. We've been told where we can and can't travel, where we, can and can't eat out, if we can actually dine out at all. We've been told to wear masks, apply sanitizer approximately every 27 seconds, and at certain stages we were literally not allowed to leave our homes for the most part. And then they forced us all into being teachers to our kids without consultation or option. All of this has literally left many people, and possibly even you, feeling like you have had no control over anything at all this year. And you know what? You would be absolutely right. Because other than our own thoughts and actions, we have no control over anything in life. Ever. Control is just simply an illusion. We've never had control over anything or anyone external to us. We like to think that we can control our partners and our kids, or that we can control what goes on in our homes and workplaces, but we can't. So the general theme of 2020 is that it sucks big hairy dog's balls. And while that is pretty accurate for most of us, it doesn't have to be the way we think of 2020. We get to choose how we respond to the events and circumstances of this year. Now, when I say 2020 sucked big hairy dog's balls, that is just me making a generalization. I'm sure that not every single person would agree with that. So making a statement like that is just a story that I'm creating, really. In fact, for me personally, I don't actually believe that this year has been that bad. And, yep, sure, some parts did suck. I'm looking at you homeschooling. But a lot of it didn't. And it all comes down to what we each make something mean. So to give you an example of what I'm saying here, let's just say you have two people who, for this example, are identical in age, family, occupation, personality, all the things. And they're both in lockdown or quarantine. They both have access to all the same products and services and food and home entertainment, etc. And yet one of them could actually have had an amazing time and the other one the worst time of their life. Person A could simply have chosen to look upon this lockdown as an opportunity for all sorts of things, which is exactly how I viewed this year. Opportunities for rest, brushing up on cooking skills, catching up on all the books and the movies, and beavering away on their business or their side gig, finally decluttering their house, grateful to not have to face all those social gatherings or come up with excuses not to go to them. There could be a million reasons that person A finds joy, gratitude, and opportunity in being in lockdown, whereas person B chooses to only see the negatives and spends the whole time complaining about being locked up, bored with everything, can't be bothered doing things, busting to get out and about, obsessing over the doom and gloom of the news, complaining about how unfair that all of this is, and that she has no choices or options. So these two women had all the same things available to them. The only difference was the mindset that they chose to adopt in how they viewed the whole situation and what they made it all mean, and the stories that they told themselves about it all. Person A, which just between you and me was me, was perhaps not so secretly disappointed when restrictions were lifted, because it meant that I had to leave the house and face the world. Person A was very happy in their little bubble. Hello, fellow introverted homebodies. Now, I know that personality types and whether you're an introvert or an extrovert certainly comes into how well you cope with not seeing your peeps and, getting out and about. But at the end of the day, if you tell yourself something's going to be shit, then it will be shit. And what we focus on grows. We are where our attention is. And if our attention and focus is on the negative, then that is all we are capable of seeing in any moment. We get to make the choice. Regardless of your personality type, everything in our life comes down to the stories we tell ourselves, and none of them are even true because they're filtered through all of the subconscious beliefs from our childhood programming. Every day, we get to make choices. Whilst most circumstances are beyond our control, what we can control are the choices we make. Every single day, in every single moment, we have and make choices. We may not think we have choices, but we always have choices. And it's just the consequences of our choices that we are often not prepared to face. And therefore, we make the choice to not suffer the consequence. So we make no choice at all, which in fact is making a choice. And when we don't make a decision, or we forget, or we don't do something, we're still making choices whether we realize it or not. I spoke a little bit about this back in episode 7, I think it was, when I talked about are we thriving or just surviving in life. And, we all get stuck in ruts and we get comfortable in them. And we see that there is a life outside of that rut and it looks beautiful and exciting. But our rut is comfortable and predictable for us. It's just the way our brains like it. Comfortable and predictable. When we stay in that comfort and predictability of our rut, we are making the choice to never get to the beauty and fun and excitement that lies on the other side of our rut. Getting stuck in a rut is actually a choice, even if you don't think it is. When you see people complaining about their horrible job, they have chosen to be in or stay in that job. They could also choose to leave that job and choose to make changes in their life. Many women spend a lot of time complaining about their husbands or partners. And firstly, they're choosing to complain, but secondly, they're choosing to be with that person. They are choosing to be in that relationship, and often they are choosing not to leave. Everything we do or don't do in life is a choice. And when I spoke about this back in episode 7, I had just had the realization at the time, and it was a huge one, huge, that I had been subconsciously choosing to be overweight. Now, I don't know anyone who would consciously choose to be overweight, but subconsciously, in every glass of wine I used to drink, I was choosing it. In every little naughty bite here and there, I was choosing it. In every moment that I wasn't exercising or doing something positive for my body, I was choosing it. In every moment that I was hating on my body, I was choosing it. Now, weight loss is a huge topic. God, it's $1 billion industry for good reason. And that is because it's not all about the food or the exercise. So much of it is about the subconscious programming that we're not even aware of, because, the reason that most people don't lose weight, or they do and then they put it all back on, is because they're making all the changes on the outside, but on the inside, in their subconscious brain, they are still the same person inside and they haven't shifted their identity. That is a whole topic for another episode, and I will do an episode on that and my own weight loss journey soon, because there is a lot to talk about there, but that one's not for today. But if we can get back to choices, everything in our life is a choice. And I referred to, making a choice before in every glass of wine that I used to drink. Speaking of drinking, this one's also another upcoming episode very soon that I'm quite excited to share this one. I made a choice, it was a big choice, 4 months ago to become a non-drinker. Prior to that, I had been choosing to be what I used to say was, a very social drinker or a high-functioning alcoholic at times. I was drinking about a bottle of wine every single night of the week and sometimes more. It was a habit and an addiction and subconsciously a choice. And, many may say that their habits or their addictions are not by choice, that they can't control them, they can't stop them, but you can. You just have to make the choice. You have to commit to it, and you have to shift that identity from, in my case, being the person who drinks to being a non-drinker. And for me, committing 100% to this was way, way easier than committing 99% to it and giving myself permission to have a drink now and then. I have done that in the past, and it has always led to the slippery slope of falling off that wagon again, and before you know it, one drink here and there was leading to, 7 drinks in a night. And the point here is that whether you do or don't consciously choose to do something, we are still making a choice. And when we think that the circumstances of our life are not in our control, we actually have a choice. When we're stuck in a situation, we have a choice. When we're impacted by lockdowns and quarantines and border closures, we can choose to let the circumstance dictate the outcome for us and live in a world of self-pity, victimhood, blamehood, and negativity. Or we can make a choice to create a whole new story for ourselves out of the situation. And often, situations that look a bit shitty are not happening to us, but for us. We just don't always see that things are happening for us and that they're happening for a reason. Personally, I look back at the first half of 2020 and, I cannot believe that we're already near the end of August because March feels like it was about 3 weeks ago. I can see that this year has happened for us and not to us. I can see that, despite the unfortunate illness and deaths and economic costs, that this year's been kind of a reset that the world needed in order to, get back to what matters most and to slow down. And I'm not saying that illness and death and economic costs were a good thing, but I just think 2020 as a whole has been a good opportunity for us to reset. Anyway, this is just my opinion, and you may agree or disagree with that, and that's okay, because we all have our own ideas and opinions and perspectives. But I think 2020 has been a really good reset for a lot of us. And taking control of our life when the only things that we actually have control over are our thoughts and our actions, it can seem daunting or impossible. But when you strip back all of the misconceptions and preconceived ideas on how life is or how it should be, realizing that they are only stories created in your subconscious, it's easy to see, and you'd have to agree, that when we take 100% responsibility for everything that is in and isn't in our life, and we make the choice to step into a place of integrity to ourselves, that anything is possible, is it not? Now, in saying all of that, it does not mean that you won't have your moments. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel into the pain, the misery, sadness, or anger. You can, and honestly, you should. Feelings are there to be felt, and to be felt in their entirety. Suppressing our feelings is like when we completely stuff ourselves stupid on Taco Tuesday. Even though it felt good in the moment, it feels like shit afterwards and it's bound to come back up again. Suppressing our feelings is kind of the same. And, it might make you feel better in the moment, but they will come back up again and they will keep rearing their ugly little head until you acknowledge and allow them and actually feel into them. I've talked about feelings in previous episodes, but I'll dive into them in greater depth in upcoming episodes again. But for now, just know that even though you can still feel the impacts of everything that is going on in the world around you, that you actually still get to choose how you interpret it for you, how you respond to it, the meaning that you make of it, and of course the actions that you take. Okay, I know that all got a little bit heavy there, but hopefully I've provoked a few thoughts for you to ponder. If you want to chat further about all of this, jump on into my Facebook group and tag me for a chat. I'd love to chat with you. Anyway, that's all I've got for this week. Take care. I'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening. Cheers. Thanks for listening. The fact that you're here means that you find value in this podcast, and if you're finding value here, then your friends and family will too. So do them and me a favour, if you will, and share this podcast with them, please. If you'd like more inspiration and to connect with other Deliberate Transformers, head on over to my Facebook group, Deliberately Transformed with Makaela Moore. You'll find the link in the show notes. You'll also want to hit subscribe to make sure that you never miss an episode. Until next time, take care.